A modern port at dawn. Vast and silent. Rows of colorful containers stretch to the horizon. Gigantic, automated cranes glide on rails. They move with an unnatural, silent grace. A symphony of steel. This is the circulatory system of our world. A system of perfect, geometric order. It moves 90% of everything you own. The phone in your hand. The coffee in your mug. The clothes on your back. It all travels inside a simple metal box. This system is so efficient, so ubiquitous, it feels inevitable. Like it has always been here. But it hasn't. To understand its genius, we must first travel back. Back to a world of chaos. A world ruled by the hook. This is the 1950s. The docks of New York City. The air is thick with diesel fumes and sweat. Thousands of men swarm the belly of a cargo ship. These are the longshoremen. They are masters of a brutal, inefficient art. They move the world's goods piece by painful piece. Sacks of flour. Barrels of oil. Crates of machinery. Each item is hoisted by rope and hook. It is a puzzle solved by muscle and grit. A single ship could take a week to unload and reload. The cost was staggering. Not just in money, but in time. And theft, known as pilferage, was rampant. A broken crate was an open invitation. This was break bulk shipping. It was the bottleneck of global trade. The friction that kept the world large and distant. But one man saw this chaos and didn't see a problem. He saw an opportunity. A simple, radical idea born of pure frustration. His name was Malcolm McLean. And he wasn't a shipping magnate. He was a trucker. In 1937, McLean sat in his truck at a New Jersey port. He waited for hours. He watched longshoremen unload his cargo piece by piece. He thought about the inefficiency. The wasted time. The wasted motion. And then, a thought sparked. A blueprint for a new world. What if, instead of unloading his cargo, they could just lift his entire truck trailer and place it directly onto the ship? The idea was absurd. It was revolutionary. And it would sit in the back of his mind for nearly 20 years. It would require him to risk everything. To build a system that did not exist. To fight a war against tradition itself. McLean knew the world wouldn't change on its own. He would have to break it first. In the early 1950s, Malcolm McLean made an audacious decision. He sold his trucking company. It was one of the largest in America. He was leaving a guaranteed success. He was betting his entire fortune on that single idea from 1937. He was all in. He used the money to buy a shipping company. Then he purchased 2 World War II oil tankers. They were rusting relics of a bygone era. To everyone else, they were scrap. To McLean, they were a blank canvas. He would not just modify these ships. He would invent a new kind of vessel. He worked with engineers to design a radical new feature. A spar deck. This was a reinforced steel platform built above the main deck. It was designed to hold not loose cargo, but a new, uniform unit. The container. But the box itself was the first engineering battle. It couldn't just be a box. It had to be a fortress. It needed to be strong enough to protect its contents from the violent sea. It had to be light enough to be lifted efficiently. It had to be perfectly stackable, up to 6 high. The walls were made of corrugated steel. Just like cardboard, the folds gave it immense strength with minimal material. But the true genius, the secret weapon of the entire system, was hidden in plain sight. At the 8 corners of the box. This was the corner casting. A simple, standardized block of steel. It was hollow, with oval holes on its faces. These castings were the universal language of the new system. They were the point of contact. A special crane attachment, called a twist lock spreader, would fit into the top 4 castings. With a simple quarter turn, it locked onto the box. The container could now be lifted without ropes, nets, or hooks. The castings on the bottom allowed it to be locked securely to the deck of the ship. Or to the chassis of a truck. Or to a railway car. It was the key to true intermodality. A single, unified system for sea, road, and rail. This wasn't just a new box. It was a new industrial DNA. McLean had engineered a complete, integrated system. The ship. The crane. The container. The truck chassis. Every piece was designed to work in perfect harmony. April 26, 1956. Port Newark, New Jersey. McLean's first modified tanker, the SS Ideal X, was ready. A crowd gathered. Skeptical longshoremen. Rival shipping executives. Union officials. They watched as a new type of crane lifted the first container. It was a 35-foot box, McLean's own proprietary size. The crane swung it over the water. It lowered it precisely onto the spar deck. Twist locks engaged. Secure. Then another. And another. In just a few hours, 58 containers were loaded. A job that would have taken a team of longshoremen days. A powerful union official reportedly turned to McLean. He asked what he should do with all his dock workers. McLean's vision was working. But it was also a threat. The Ideal X sailed for Houston. It arrived safely. The containers were unloaded onto waiting truck chassis and driven away. The system worked. The cost of loading cargo had plummeted. From nearly $6 a ton to just 16 cents. McLean had proven his blueprint was viable. But in solving one problem, he had created another. His system was brilliant. But it was his system. His 35-foot containers only worked with his ships and his trucks. Other companies, seeing his success, began developing their own container systems. Matson Navigation had a 24-foot box. Grace Line had a 17-foot box. The dream of a seamless global network was fracturing. The chaos of the hook was being replaced by a new chaos. A chaos of incompatible standards. The world was on the verge of a standards war. The battlefield would not be on the docks. It would be in boardrooms. In government committees. And the stakes were the future of global commerce. The Vietnam War became an unexpected catalyst. The U.S. military was struggling to supply its forces. Its ports were clogged with break-bulk cargo. It was a logistical nightmare. The military saw the efficiency of McLean's system. They became his biggest customer. But they needed a single, universal standard. A container that any company could build. And any port could handle. The pressure mounted. The International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, stepped in. The meetings were intense. Shipping lines, railroad companies, and port authorities fought for their own interests. Debates raged over length, height, and width. But the one thing they could agree on was the genius of McLean's corner casting. It was the key. Finally, in the late 1960s, a global standard was set. The ISO container. It would come in two primary lengths, 20 feet and 40 feet. The 20-foot box became the standard unit of measurement. The TEO, or 20-foot equivalent unit. But most importantly, every single box, no matter who built it or where, would have the exact same corner casting dimensions. The war was over. The blueprint was now open source. The revolution went global. Ports around the world were rebuilt. Old docks were torn down. Vast container terminals rose in their place. The profession of the longshoreman faded. Replaced by the quiet efficiency of the crane operator. Global supply chains were born. For the first time, it was cheaper to ship a product across the ocean than to move it a few hundred miles by land. Manufacturing moved to where labor was cheapest. The world became smaller. Flatter. Interconnected in a way McLean himself could have barely imagined. Look again at the silent ballet of the modern port. It is no longer just a port. It is the physical manifestation of a single, brilliant idea. A testament to the power of systems thinking. An unlikely trucker saw a world tangled in ropes and chaos. He envisioned a world of geometric simplicity. He engineered the box. He engineered the system. And in doing so, he wrote the blueprint for the modern global economy. The simple steel box did not just change shipping. It changed everything.